Part 75. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 743. Seeing the time passing by, no one thought of a way to break through here. At this moment, Yeluaguo suddenly saw the gap between each layer of traps, although this gap was not considered a gap. It's very big, but it can barely support a person passing by. As long as you can grasp the distance between these gaps, there will be no problem if you pass them one by one. After receiving such a reminder, Gurdon quickly asked his people to pass over first. After all, there were quite a lot of people on both sides. It would still take a lot of time to get everyone to escape from this place. But if it continues to be delayed, it will be more dangerous and the possibility of being discovered by the Song army will be greater. Therefore, you should give priority to going there at this time, so that you can try your best to ensure that you leave here as soon as possible. Yeluaguo would not allow such a thing to happen. This method was discovered by him. How could he let Xixia soldiers leave here first? Although everyone is now trapped around these traps, the last one to leave is the most dangerous one. In any case, there are still competing interests between the two parties, so it is absolutely impossible to give up such an opportunity. Soldiers from both sides had a dispute once, which was the result Lu Feng wanted to see. But this time the real noise didn't last long. One soldier suddenly discovered that there were gaps between traps not only in that place just now, but in fact there were basically everywhere. It was just that the gaps were widely spaced. ETA Euro trademark S different. Some places will be easier to pass, and some places will be slightly more difficult. As long as you choose places that are a little more relaxed, it won't have much of an impact. With this discovery, everyone began to get excited. Yeluaguo and Jirdan agreed to take sides and let their soldiers go first. No matter what, they still had to leave this ghost place first. They thought that they could successfully escape from this place before the Song army came over, but what they didn't expect was that as soon as they walked over, they were suddenly shot by a bow and arrow and fell directly into the inside the trap. At this time, everyone noticed that there were not only traps around, but also people from the Song dynasty ambushing here. They might not be able to pass through these traps, so they could only wait quietly on the outside. As long as they saw someone, if you want to try to escape, you will directly shoot bows and arrows to stop it. In this way, the trapped people become caged birds, able to wait quietly for death. When everyone realized this, the entire army began to become restless. Everyone Kanchao died gloriously on the battlefield, but there was no way he could accept ending his life in this way. Moreover, people all have a desire to survive. When facing danger, they all hope that they can persevere until the end, and they do not want to die in vain, so everyone has a very strong desire for life. Especially in this darkness, no one knew what kind of unknown fear was waiting for them besides them. Everyone began to feel a little timid, and only the generals of the two armies could persist. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 744. Yeluaguo and Jirdan looked at each other. They both knew the seriousness of the matter, but they didn't know how to break through the siege here. Both of them are generals of their respective countries, and they are of great importance to their respective countries, so if they were here, the losses would be very heavy for both Xixia and Dale Yao. It was precisely because Lu Feng took a fancy to this that he absolutely wanted them to die here. Not far away, the voices of Song soldiers could already be heard. It seemed that they would arrive here in a few minutes. In order to escape the siege as soon as possible, Yeluaguo said to Gurdon, now is not the time for the two of us to argue. If we want to escape from here, we must cooperate. How do you want to do it? My people are better at bows and arrows, so I hope your people can try their best to draw out the opponent's target. As long as they can see the opponent's movements, my people can kill the opponent. Geldon fell into deep thought. This is indeed a way, but he does not want his brothers to take risks. After all, it is very dangerous to do such a thing, and once done, the possibility of survival will be maintained. Way, basically going to die. No, what's not your person to lure out the target? I will never let my brothers die. It has been said that my people are better at archery. My people go out to lure out targets. What if your people can't kill each other? There are only two choices left in front of me now, either do as I say, then we will all have to wait for death, it is up to you. Gelden didn't know what to say for a moment. He didn't want himself and his brothers to wait for death here, but he also didn't want his brothers to take such a big risk. The tangled emotions continued in his heart. Wondering, I finally chose a more rational approach. Instead of waiting for death quietly here, it is better to go out and fight hard, maybe I can actually succeed. Even if there are casualties, it is still better than everyone else dying. It's good. As long as there is still a chance of survival, you can never give up. Okay, I agree with your method, but if you betray us, I will never let you go. Stop talking nonsense, hurry up if you want to survive. Both of them sighed. After all, there were big differences between the two sides before. It is indeed not that easy to cooperate again now. Under the leadership of the two generals, everyone gathered together. Geerden's men were the first to appear. When they stepped into the gap between the traps, an arrow suddenly flew over. But at this moment, Yeluaguo's men reacted quickly and headed directly forward. An arrow came from the dark place, and only 2 consecutive thumping sounds were heard. The other party stopped releasing arrows, but at the same time, the soldier who had just taken a step was also hit by a sharp arrow in the darkness. Falling into the trap. Geerden glanced at Yeluaguo, who said, I can only guarantee that I can hit the opponent, just let your people save their lives. Gelden did not respond, but just reminded his men to be more careful. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 745. Lu Feng watched everything that happened calmly, and could only shake his head silently. The soldiers of the Song dynasty who were trained were still a little behind, and there was a lot of gap between them and the Xixia people. You must know that those Xixia people have been exposed to these things since they were young. No matter whether they are born to be sharpshooters after entering the military camp for training, with a little training, let alone perfect shots, they can even track backwards. Now, they are using the direction of the arrows to attack in the opposite direction. As long as Geerden cooperates with them, the Song soldiers are destined to be gradually eliminated. Yeluaguo was also a smart man and did not let others go up to die. He still let his sharp archers follow Geerden's men. They cooperated with each other. Whenever an archer among the soldiers of the Song dynasty took action, Yeluaguo's sharp archer was already drawing his bow and setting an arrow. As long as Geerden's men are responsible for ensuring that they will not be shot to death by this arrow, they will have a chance to fight back. These people walked forward step by step, using the gaps between the traps to escape from the battlefield as quickly as possible. They wanted to keep the unfavorable geographical factors away from them. Young master, the people there seem to want to run away, should we take action? Zhao Yun rode to Lu Feng's side and asked if he wanted to take action. It seems that the soldiers of the Song dynasty are unable to stop the remaining people of Xixia. What's more, those people's archery skills are better than those of the soldiers of the Song dynasty today. This time, it also shows that the people under my command are still not good enough. After returning, the archers will be trained separately, and the real archers will be selected to form a separate battalion. Lu Feng calmly gave Zhao Yun other orders. Zhao Yun agreed. As for those people, it is impossible to escape. Let General Kui lead the people to wait. Where is the final route of the trap? He also knows that these people can only follow the gaps in the trap and have no other way out. It's ridiculous that Yaluaguo and Jirdan thought everything was too beautiful. Since there are gaps between the traps, could Lu Feng set up this trap into multiple escape routes? There must be only one way, then the only way to escape wherever they set foot. They also deliberately guided these people. As long as they wanted to escape, they could only follow the gap. Then, they would eventually enter the encirclement of the soldiers of the Song dynasty. The archers failed, and the infantry were all waiting in front. This surrounded by many people. You want to run away? ETA Euro trademark S impossible. Yaluaguo nervously cooperated with Jirdan. Although Jirdan felt sorry for his subordinates who took the initiative to act as bait, he had no choice but to let his subordinates do their best to protect themselves. Try to find ways to increase the survival rate while moving. But the soldiers of the Song dynasty were not vegetarians. Half of Jirdan a Euro trademark S subordinates died quickly. Are your archers of any use? My subordinates are all dead and wounded. I don't think of a way to do it. Even if all my people are dead, we can't escape. Geldin is worried. If this continues, no one will be able to use him. My men have never missed a beat. The problem is not with me. It's that there are too many soldiers from the Song dynasty. There is nothing I can do. You can only hope that your own people can protect you. Yaluaguo was speechless. His archers were all the best. Every time they took a shot, they took away a Song soldier. They had tried their best. Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 746. Jirdan could not say anything. What Yaluaguo said was indeed true. He did not betray Jirdan, but there were too many soldiers in the Song dynasty. Jirdan's people were inevitably plotted. Finally, they managed to escape the trap and did not fall into the passive conditions of the geographical location. However, General Kui and the Song dynasty's infantry were waiting for them in front. The two people who had just thought they could escape suddenly fell into despair. Gurdon looked at the less than 10 subordinates behind him and didn't know what to do. Yaluaguo's face was ashen, and there were only archers behind him. How could these archers fight against the infantry? The shield can be raised to block attacks. Jirdan was outnumbered and unable to fight. Surrounded by General Kui, the two men could not even break out of the encirclement. You two, I advise you to surrender obediently and not to struggle in vain. As long as you sincerely explain everything you know, our General Lu will treat you well. General Kui pulled out the sword from his waist, pointed it at Jirdan and Yaluaguo, and persuaded them to surrender. Joke. How could I, the Xixia warrior, surrender? If you have the ability, don't let us go. Otherwise, when I come back with my men, I will kill all of you Song people. No matter what the scene is now, Yaluaguo only knows that on the battlefield, he will either die or win and return alive. He will never surrender. You are a bunch of wimps from the Song dynasty. Our warriors from the Liao kingdom will kill you as easily as killing a chicken. It was like this before and it will be like this now. Geldin shouted, and rushed forward with his subordinates behind him. Although they failed completely in this battle, he still did not believe that his people would lose to these weaklings from the Song dynasty. General Kui saw them. The two people rushed up and stopped talking nonsense. Array. With an order, the well-trained soldiers of the Song dynasty formed a square formation, with the spears in their hands pointing directly at Yaluaguo in Gurdon. These reckless people who only knew how to run rampant rushed over like this and were trapped in the formation. The so-called warriors can only fight in a corner. Under the defense of shields, they could not even break the formation of these infantry. Only then, the spear successfully controlled the distance, making the swords in the hands of these warriors unable to function. In such a formation under the offensive, the soldiers of the Song dynasty were able to deal with the Xixia and Liao people without any injuries for the first time. In the end, Yeluaguo and Jirdan, who refused to surrender, died in the formation. General Kui saw that the time was almost up. Deliberately let go of one of the injured archers, this was also to let this man go out to report the news. Telling the people of Zixia and Liao about the battle here will let them have a different view of Lu Feng. The more fearful the better, otherwise, there will be no people who have experienced wars will also send back wrong information. The only people on the battlefield who observe from a distance are scouts, but these scouts have long been eliminated by the secret agent team trained by Lu Feng. This is also to prevent those people from becoming unexpected external eyes and ears. When fighting, intelligence is very important. Whoever can grasp the first-hand intelligence can make a response faster. General Zhao, I have let one person out. I believe that it won't be long before that person can spread the news back to Zixia and Liao. General Kui and Zhao Yun reported back. Three Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 747. Zhao Yun nodded, very satisfied with General Kui's approach, and still had to send one person back to deliver the message. Now that they had achieved a complete victory, there were only some final actions left in this battle. Zhao Yun handed everything over to General Kui, discussed it with Dian Wei, and returned to Lu Feng's side, serving as their loyal bodyguard. Long Wuzu, are there any assassins in the near future? Outside the camp, Dian Wei did not forget to ask Long Wu whether anyone had been captured alive recently. Since Lu Feng became famous, there have been a lot of people who have come to assassinate him. These people are from different forces. Without interrogation methods, they can't be killed at all. I don't a trademark know where they come from and whose subordinates they are. Fortunately, Zhao Yundianwei and the others have many interrogation methods. It is not difficult to deal with these assassins. General Hui Dian, the recent assassins are all from the Khitan and Liao kingdoms. They have been interrogated a lot, most of them can't survive and are already dead. If you want to ask any more questions, you can only wait for the next wave. Please don't worry, General Dian, they can't even see His Majesty. Long Wuzu's people replied. If this was said, no one would believe it. How could someone capture all the assassins sent from so many places alive? But that is the fact. To Long Wuzu, these assassins are like it was like playing house, and they were captured alive easily. However, these assassins were not dead soldiers, so they could not withstand torture and forced confessions. They all explained clearly. The funny thing is that each force thought that the assassins they sent were so powerful that even if there was any accident, they would definitely be able to cause some damage to Lu Feng. In fact, they were taken away by the ruthless Long Wu soldiers without even seeing Lu Feng's face. Well, keep a good watch and never allow those dirty dogs to get close to His Majesty, otherwise you will all die to apologize. Dian Wei nodded. This is all the responsibility of the Long Wu soldiers themselves. If they don't even have this kind of force value, how can they be assigned to His Majesty as guards? If Lu Feng didn't despise those people who would dirty his hands, where would they get their turn? These guards used their skills, but don't mistake Lu Feng for a scholar who has no power to restrain a chicken. After he Long Wush's instructions, Dian Wei and Zhao Yun entered the camp and reported the good news to Lu Feng. Reporting back to Your Majesty, the allied forces of Zixia and Liao have been completely annihilated. According to the plan, only one person is left alive for him to go back and report. Now, General Kui is handling the follow-up, and he can report the battle damage when he comes back. Dian Wei and Zhao Yun knelt down on one knee and respectfully asked Lu Feng for instructions, with their heads lowered and their hearts filled with awe. There are no outsiders here, and they don't need to continue to call them young master, but can call them Your Majesty. Well, this is also expected. Although those people became the allied army, they actually still did not take the soldiers of the Song dynasty seriously. Over the years, the image of the weak Song soldiers has long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. How could those people will they fight seriously? Lu Feng smiled and shook his head. He had already guessed that this would be the ending. Who made the Song dynasty not win in these years? As old rivals, although Xixia and Liao were in alliance, they also looked at his face. The higher UPS would only think that they should be careful with the tactics of Lu Feng, the new general, but they did not need to worry about issues such as strength. They believed that their respective warriors could fight 10 against each other. Little did they know that the soldiers under Lu Feng had changed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 748. Dian Wei and Zhao Yun also believed in this. When the alliance troops faced each other, they all thought that they could fight several Song soldiers by themselves, and they would attack directly when they came up. It wasn't until their weapons didn't hit Song Bing's head as expected that they realized they were wrong, but they had no chance to regret it. On the ever-changing battlefield, one of their underestimates was enough for them to meet the King of Hell. General Kui cleaned up the battlefield and returned soon to report the battle losses. I want to see General Liu. In the evening of the same day, General Kui finally came back. He looked happy and held the booklet he had just compiled in his hand. This booklet was similar to a written report, but people had to go. Come in. Lu Feng signaled Dian Wei and Zhao Yun to stand on the left and right, no need to continue kneeling, and wait for General Kui to come in and report back. Good news. Great news. Our army won a complete victory in this battle, with 128 dead, 270 seriously injured, and 457 lightly injured. The enemy army was completely wiped out. This is great news that has never been heard of before, and His Majesty will definitely be overjoyed. General Kui was very excited and danced like a child, but there was nothing he could do about it. This was the first time in so many years that the Song dynasty had won such a big victory. If this news was spread back, the entire Song dynasty would be affected. People can be so excited about it that they can a Euro trademark T sleep all night. Eat a Euro trademark S definitely a huge inspiration. Humph, he is happy about him, it has nothing to do with us, it is not a surprise. Zhao Yun raised his eyebrows and didn't buy what General Kui said about Long Yan Daio at the end. In his eyes, there is only Lu Feng, Your Majesty, and the others are nothing. Ahima Euro a Euro. Lu Feng raised his hand, coughed twice, and asked Zhao Yun not to be so high profile. There is no need to make his identity known to the whole world now. The Song dynasty has ruled this world for hundreds of years. It has long penetrated into the psychology of every common people. If you want to change the dynasty, you need to completely overthrow them from the bottom of the hearts of the people, rather than act blindly. Nowadays, through war, the more long-term plan is to let the people see who can lead them to the top and make them completely lose confidence in the weak Song dynasty. Yes, the general is wise and powerful. Then, should I send news back to Shengjing? General Kui was sweating on his forehead. He didn't know how to react for a moment. He was a general of the Song dynasty, but now he didn't dare to mention Song Zhezong in this camp. The news that should be sent back must of course make the people happy. Is it possible that they are still holding back after a great victory? Lu Feng's profound words made General Kui hurriedly nod his head. Yes, I understand, I understand. How dare he talk nonsense? It also made him understand more clearly that these people are definitely not pure in mind. He can either pretend to know nothing and don't bother with anything except fighting, or he will follow them to the end. Otherwise, I'm afraid, life was at risk. A few days later, the news that the allied armies of Xixia and Liao were completely defeated by the Song army led by Lu Feng spread throughout the world. No matter it was the Song dynasty, Liao, Xixia, Khitan, or even Jianghu, everyone who knows, Everyone knows that there is such a great general who has become the last hope of the Song dynasty. Everyone cheered, especially the people of the Song dynasty. After being bullied for so many years, they finally felt that they could stand up. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 749. Lu Feng's name is also considered by many people to be the savior of the Song dynasty. Now many people in the family don't know where they got the portrait, so they just burn incense and pay their respects. Fortunately, Lu Feng didn't know about this, otherwise he might have rolled his eyes in anger. He was not a dead person, so he still needed someone to burn incense for him and put it here to worship. Zikan Hall was the most commonly used place in the Shang dynasty during the Song dynasty. The Song dynasty was a special dynasty, and there were no hard and fast rules for going to court, so the places for going to court were also different. Suan Tower, Zikan Hall, and Daking Hall were all places where emperors of the Song dynasty went to court, but Zikan Hall was used the most. Your Majesty, I think that although Lu Feng's origin is unknown, he is a useful talent. Why don't we send other officers and soldiers to his staff? After some training, they will all become useful talents. Sima Guang stood below and suggested to Song Zhezong that as Prime Minister, he must be responsible for the entire country and it is his responsibility to promote useful talents. I think what the Prime Minister said is wrong. The origin of Lu Feng is unknown. He just won a few battles and all military power must be handed over to him. Isn't it just raising a tiger? If a tiger hurts someone, who can tame it? But as soon as he finished speaking, Lu Dafang stood up to object. Lu Dafang, currently a bachelor of the Hanlin Academy, will rise to prominence in the future. He will be worshipped by Zhuo Pushi, the minister, and his servant, and will be granted the title of Duke of Ji. Unfortunately, he later participated in party disputes and was demoted. He went to Suizhu and was not promoted to prime minister until the next emperor. But now, he is obviously in the period of party struggle. How could he easily agree to Sima Guang's suggestions when he has different ideas from Sima Guang? I think what Wei Zhong said makes sense. It would be premature to hand over military power to Lu Feng. Song Zhezong is sitting on the dragon chair, wearing a red robe. He doesn't look anything special. This is because most emperors of the Song dynasty are simple and don't think it's okay if they don't embroider dragons on their clothes. He has a heart for Sima Guang's proposal. He was dissatisfied and thought that although Lu Feng was very powerful, as an emperor, he would never be willing to hand over military power. Even if he knew clearly that Lu Feng was the first person to win such a thorough victory in so many years, it would be useless. The world he wanted, it is a world without any threats, not a world with tigers. As Lu Dafang said, Lu Feng is more like a tiger. Feed him, and then he will hurt others with violence. Today's Song dynasty, no matter whether civil servants or military generals, there is no one who can control. His Majesty. Do you still remember the March appointment? Sima Guang's face looked a little ugly. He reminded Song Zhezong, don't forget that the original agreement was not forced by others, but between him and Lu Feng. A gentleman's words are hard to follow, let alone the emperor. A euro. Song Zhezong became a little unhappy immediately. Sima Guang poured cold water on him at the critical moment. It was strange that he could be happy. His Majesty. Have you forgotten the two unfathomable masters beside Lu Feng? Sima Guang looked serious. He once again reminded Song Zhezong that there was no one in the entire palace who could fight against Dian Wei and Zhao Yun. If Lu Feng was willing, he could kill Song Zhezong at any time. Song Zhezong was speechless, and of course he had not forgotten this time. Those two people are still his nightmare, and he is scared when he thinks about them. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 750. Sima Guang saw that Song Zhezong finally remembered this and hurriedly pursued the victory. Those two people are absolute masters. No one in the palace is a rival. Even if you go to the rivers and lakes to find the top masters now, it is impossible. What's more, those people in the rivers and lakes are not under control. They will not obey the imperial edict. When the time comes, Your Majesty, it's dangerous. Sima Guang pressed forward step by step, just hoping that Song Zhezong could understand the situation. It is simply unrealistic for you to break the promise even if you can't beat him. What's more, in the long run, only Lu Feng will lead the troops. And bulldozed other dynasties, only then could the Song dynasty achieve real stability. Sima Guang saw the hope of the future, and would rather hand over his military power to fight for peace in the future. Even if he is not an opponent, it is better than handing over military power. This thing will not necessarily come back in the future. Lu Dafang still objected firmly. If they hadn't all come from literary backgrounds and still persisted in their last bit of politeness, they might have quarreled in front of all the ministers. Enough. Don't talk about it anymore. Let's talk about this matter after I understand the public sentiment. Let's see how the people view Lu Feng. Song Zhezong shouted angrily and told them to stop talking. He said that his head hurt and he didn't know what the right thing to do was, so he simply ignored them and blamed all this on the common people. Since Your Majesty wants to hear what the people have to say, why not leave this matter to me? At this time, Suche stood up and petitioned the emperor. Suche, one of the three heroes of the Su family and the younger brother of the great poet Sushi, although like his brother Sushi, was often demoted, he has been reused since Zhezong of the Song dynasty came to the throne. Now he has the official position of Yashi Zhongcheng. The influence of his father and brother behind him, his style is a bit too tough. When two powerful officials are fighting like this, he is the only one who dares to jump out of the civil and military officials of the dynasty. Dare to do this. Of course, Sushi also dared, but now Sushi is still in the process of being demoted. No matter which emperor comes to the throne, Sushi is still in the process of being demoted, so he is still missing from the court. Since the censor Zhongcheng is willing to take on this important responsibility, it will be left to you to withdraw from the court. Song Zhezong didn't want to hear their noise anymore, so he threw these burdens to Suche and retired. But when he returned to the harem, Song Zhezong began to be afraid again. The power of Dian Wei and Zhao Yun made him feel lingering fear. On the other side, he didn't know several people in the court who were having a huge quarrel because of Lu Feng were training the soldiers of the Song dynasty, subjecting them to high-pressure training again and again to make them stronger. Those who had some skills among them were promoted vigorously, and there was never any backdoor manipulation. This also caused the soldiers of the Song dynasty to strive to be the first. General Kui was also infected by this high emotion and participated in training with the soldiers every day. The high morale of the army made many scouts who came here to spy recently also they were very surprised. They went back and reported the situation to their superiors, and they all said to wait and see what happens. No one dared to rush forward and confront the sharp-edged soldiers of the Song dynasty at this time. It was also after Lu Feng won the battle that other dynasties changed. Regarding the Song dynasty, they will never underestimate the enemy in future battles, and will definitely seriously examine the war. There were suddenly many rumors about Lu Feng in the world, and even Xiao Feng and the others had heard about it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 751. Xiao Feng was drinking in a restaurant and was found by Azu Abi. After solving the problem at Tianning Temple, he walked around the world with the two of them. As they walked, Azu Abi was still looking for Murongfu. From here on, the world line of the Tianlong Ba Bulletin world has changed. Along the way, Qiao Feng felt that Azu was gentle and dignified, and was attracted to her. The tough man also developed tender feelings. Unfortunately, Azu was not moved. She could hear rumors about Lu Feng everywhere, and she was even more attracted by Lu Feng, thinking that such a person was a real hero. Although Qiao Feng is well known in the world, he has not done anything great for the sake of national justice, nor has he avenged his shame and allowed the entire Han nation to win a great victory. In contrast, Lu Feng is the real hero, and no one in the world will not admire him when he hears his name. Brother Qiao, I plan to go to Mr. Lu in 2 days. I don't Euro trademark T know if Brother Qiao wants to go with me, or does he have other arrangements. Azu couldn't hold it back in the end. Anyway, Murongfu and Qiao Feng are both very strong masters. Nothing will happen to them with or without her. She might as well separate from them completely and stop being treated as servants. Defect to Lu Feng. Is Sister Azu going to express her feelings? You can't run away alone. Abi whispered quietly into Azu's ear, which meant that the two of them were obviously planning to go find Lu Feng together. Mr. Lu is indeed a great hero. I have met many people in my life. I thought that the heroes in the world were just like this. But now it seems that I am too short-sighted after all. Now I am planning to go to other places to meet other great heroes and learn from each other. Second, I want a Euro trademark TB with the 2 girls. Qiao Feng sighed. These days, he was also secretly flirting with Azu, wanting to express his love, but Azu refused decisively, making Qiao Feng understand that he was dumped. After all, he is a hero. The characters were all rejected so simply, so why bother to shamelessly stay with the girl and embarrass yourself? It would be better to leave as soon as possible and stop boring the girl. In this case, I'll say goodbye. Azu is also a straightforward person. After saying that, he left and went to find Lu Feng with Abai. Now that Lu Feng is famous, it is not difficult to know where he fights. And Abai had the same idea. The one who went to look for Lu Feng was the fairy sister Wang Yuyan. The only difference between them was that Duan Yu was like a dogskin plaster, clinging to Wang Yuyan. No matter what Wang Yuyan said, he refused to leave. So the two of them could only we all set out together to look for Lu Feng. 7 days later, Lu Feng was looking at the sand table in the camp and was planning to take the initiative before he could say anything, when he saw General Kui coming from outside with a woman's handkerchief. Report to the general that there are people outside asking to see them. They said that you and them are old acquaintances and they will definitely be willing to see them. General Kui's expression was subtle, and he could only say one word about Lu Feng's charm: awesome. The 3 girls outside are all amazing beauties. Even if others take a look at them, they will feel that they have earned it. But as soon as these 3 girls came, they said they had a close relationship with Lu Feng, and took the initiative to explain the special relationship between them. In this era, what is the difference between admitting that they are husband and wife? The innocence of the 3 girls did not matter, so Lu Feng isn't a Euro trademark he the one who enjoys the blessings of everyone. 3 Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 752. It's really enviable. She is a peerless beauty that no one else can marry in this life, especially the one named Wang Yuyan, who is really rare to see in the world. General Kui was extremely envious. The soldiers from the Song dynasty outside even gathered around to see the beautiful woman. They were all very greedy. But when they heard that they were here to find Lu Feng, they immediately restrained themselves and did not dare to offend him. Do you know me? Lu Feng raised his eyebrows. He has not been in the world of Tianlong Ba Bulletin for a long time. He has only come into contact with a few people so far. He can count them with his fingers. Who else can they be? Let them in. Lu Feng asked General Kui to call them in. After a while, as expected, Azu Abi and Wang Yuyan entered the camp one after another. Duan Yu, the dogskin plaster, was right behind, following Wang Yuyan. "Mr. Lu, long time no see, do you still remember us sisters? Abi is pretty. Although she is not as eye-catching as Azu, she has the agility of a girl. She is no less generous than Azi, and her heart is not as twisted as Azi's. She is a good girl. Mr. Lu, it has been many days since we last saw each other. I wonder if Mr. Lu is in good health." Wang Yuyan bowed her head, showing off her ladylike demeanor. "Mr. Lu, you are well." Duan Yu smiled and greeted Lu Feng, but there was no good intention in his eyes. He looked more like he was angry. Maybe he was angry that his goddess had been taken away by Lu Feng, but he didn't know it yet. "Where to lose? You guys are all fine, why are you all suddenly looking for me? Don't you know that there is a war going on, but it is very dangerous?" Lu Feng smiled and joked with them. "There is a war going on here. Even if they have some skills, it is very dangerous to come here. They might be surrounded. As the saying goes, 2 fists are hard to beat with 4 hands. If they are surrounded, they might be in trouble. Although we are not powerful people, it is not difficult to avoid the enemy and find Mr. Lu." Azu chuckled, "Of course they have their own methods, and all their kung fu does not come in vain. I don't need to worry about that." Lu Feng nodded and said nothing. Since they were so confident in themselves, he did not pour cold water on them. "It's just, I wonder if the young master can get married? Sister Abi and I have nowhere to go now, and we are trying to ask the master to take him in. If the master already has a wife, we have to say hello to the hostess. Azu is also a bold person. There are so many outsiders here, and he mentions such a private matter, which shows that he is also a strange woman who boldly pursues love. There are many wives and concubines in my house. I wonder if the girl would like to have more sisters around her." Lu Feng laughed. There were so many women around him. "I'm afraid Azu would be dizzy just saying hello. The sisters are all blessed people, and Azu can't even envy her. They are afraid that the sisters will despise Azu because of her humble background and refuse to let Azu be called a sister." Azu blushed with embarrassment and felt a little inferior. She had lost her parents since she was a child and was separated from her biological sister. Now it is up to her to decide who to marry. "No, as long as you are kind-hearted, they will definitely welcome you." Lu Feng said with certainty. Such firm words also reassured Azu. Such a powerful man must have many women around him, but his backyard is so peaceful, which shows that they are all good women, and Azu also don't be afraid of unfamiliar places.